Welcome to Gator Bytes, the official business podcast of the Maryland Davies College of Business. I am your host, Miguel Gomez, and before we begin, great news. We are now on all your favorite streaming platforms, so this means Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio Podcasts. So just search Gator Bytes and hit that notification bell and subscription, and we'll end up in your daily listening. With us today, we have Diego and Esteban. Esteban and Diego are both presidents of their respective organization, and actually Diego is a past president.
Yeah,
he is
course.
actually an alumni of our institution, and he's a returning MBA. Welcome to the program today, boys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome. So just to begin, tell us about yourself, your major, and what made you want to get involved on campus.
So my major is supply chain management for the MBA, also a concentration in project management. The thing that got me most involved in campus is just being able to offer other students an opportunity to grow within the organization of supply chain, be able to learn more about kind of the business aspect of logistics, and also not just throw the word logistics around, but actually understand what it means and how it's applicable to a lot of other businesses. So,
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Esteban?
Well, it's the same thing as Diego. To learn more about accounting. First, I would come to school, just like the average student, come to school, go to class, and go home. And I ultimately decided to get involved. Well, I wanted to learn more about accounting. Because accounting is so broad and so many positions. That's why I decided to become president. And also make connections with professionals, because that's so important. Like when you leave school, have a job secured. I didn't say a major. I'm sorry. I'm an accounting major. But yeah, that's mainly why.
Wow, that's so interesting, and you're right. Being able to have that value proposition after you graduate with that degree in hand and that job offer in hand, there's no better satisfaction than that. So
yeah, of course.
I want to ask y'all, tell us about your organizations, and essentially, what are some of the events that you guys hold for throughout the year?
So as far as for the Student Supply Chain Management Association, one of the things that we like to kind of give or offer to our students is to be involved with a lot of industry professionals. So whether that be kind of like a warehouse tour, learning about different operations within kind of like a freight forwarding company, or even being in like a project cargo type workshop as well, is something that we love to offer the students, because it kind of gives a lot of inclusivity about what's going on in the industry and kind of being able to put what you're learning in the classroom kind of like in person. So one of the things that we really like to provide our students is that type of opportunity, because with that type of opportunity comes a lot of growth. You're able to talk with the industry leaders one-on-one, connect on LinkedIn, do all that good stuff, and overall it's a great experience. It was something that I tried to do a whole lot throughout my presidency over the fall semester of 2023, and it's something that's still going on to this day, so I'm really happy about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What about you, Esteban?
Well, what we do, the professional accounting side, what we do is we bring firms here to school, or we go do office visits with them. That way students can know what they do. This is audit, tax, accounting, each department, they know what they do, and hopefully they connect with them, because they offer internships as well. Hopefully they apply, they get that, what's it called, an interview, and then if God willing, they get an internship. And that's our goal mainly. Have them speak with professionals. Same thing as they have to connect on LinkedIn. And even if you're not an accounting major, we accept any major, because you never know who you're gonna meet. Cause let's say like I'm an MIS major, and like I talked to someone that's like in the accounting department. They might have someone that's looking for an MIS major, and that connection you make might secure you a job. So that's ultimately our job.
Yeah. Networking is so important. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's not what you know, it's also who you know as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, let's go ahead and dive right on in on some of your mission that you guys do within your organization. So, to go back to Supply Chain Management Association, you started it from the ground up, but ultimately there were some skill gaps between what you learn in the classroom to actually knowing what it's like to be in the industry. You built up the organization and you handed it off to your newest president, Nancy Luna. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
So whenever you have your supply chain students now that are part of the organization, what are some gaps that you see in their skills, and what are you guys doing to help them close that gap between what they learn in the classroom and what they need to know so that they're the best candidate heading into their workplace?
So one of the major things is obviously experience. Of course, not every student can get enough experience to be ready for a real-time logistics position or supply chain related position. That's why we try to get them connected with industry professionals or taken into different types of workshops, because that shows you a whole lot about what is actually going on, what do different positions do, what are the different industries within the whole supply chain industry as a whole, how are new jobs being created every day. And with our organization, we really try to emphasize the fact that it's a lot more than what you see in the classroom. The way that it's applied, kind of in the imports or export side, is that there's a lot of little things such as pricing and operations that maybe isn't really shown. You might read it in a textbook, but you don't really know what it looks like. So providing those type of opportunities to the students is something that we use to kind of close that gap. So by the time they get into an internship or a full-time position, they're able to be ready about kind of what is about to go on.
That gives a lot of context for supply chain majors. So on the flip side, Esteban, I have to ask you, what are some of the skill gaps that you see in the accounting majors that are part of PASS, and how do you help them prepare for them to be CPA eligible or knowing how to navigate recruiting with these accounting firms?
When it comes to the CPA, one of the biggest things I tell students is look at your planner, and because you have electives, right, you can take, and I always suggest take accounting classes that go towards your CPA, because you have to take 10 classes when it comes to the CPA. And for me, that's something I wish I knew. Because I would take these easy A classes to bring up your GPA, but in reality, you should go to your the advising center and ask them what classes are you needed for your CPA, and that way you can take those electives. That's something I would advise students to do.
Wow. Sometimes it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And if you know that you're going to have to sit for that CPA exam at the end of your degree, because right now CPAs are where the money's at in accounting, is that correct?
Yes, because many of the public accounting firms, you get scaled up to a senior, but then you just stay there if you're not a CPA. If you want to go up to being partner position or higher, you require the CPA is mandatory.
So at this point now, you're getting your students thinking about career development down the line, and that's really important. You don't want to hit that glass ceiling, and you just want to keep growing. So you guys mentioned it at the beginning of our interview. Networking, it's so important. Tell me, why is networking so important, and what advice would you have for the student who's scared to network?
So networking just kind of opens every door possible, pretty much. One of the major reasons that I would like to say that I'm successful now is obviously because I've put in hard work, but also a big part of that is because of the people that I know. So whenever you step in a room, it's good to always try to shake everybody's hand, try to talk to them, look them in the eyes. It might be nerve-wracking or anything like that, but you only have to do it for a couple of seconds. And one of the things that I really tried to do whenever I first started at UHD was to go to every event possible. Even if I was going alone, I would still go ahead and do it, try to talk to as many people as I could. And further down the line, as I started getting into positions such as a president for the Student Supply Chain Management Association, and they started seeing my post on LinkedIn, they started being like, I remember that guy. I remember his face, or I remember seeing him at some point at some time, and it just becomes a whole lot easier to reconnect with people as well, and ultimately build better relationships for a work opportunity or even a business opportunity.
And on the flip side, that's so important for networking in the accounting world. Tell us why it's so important for students who are aspiring accounting professionals to know how to network and how to build those connections.
Well, it's important to network because you never know who you're going to meet, that bond you make. Like an example I can make, a very close friend of mine, one of my officers, Pedro Longoria, huge shout out to him. Even before I was a president, whenever I met him in our first event, Crow, he would always, he would come up to me like, hey man, how are you? How are you doing? Always ask the recruiter, whoever you're talking to, and Diego said, look at him in the eyes, how are you doing? Make that conversation, don't make it awkward.
Yeah.
And ever since then, every other event, because I'm one of those people that's really shy. I'll just go to the event and sit there and just learn and absorb the knowledge, but I would be scared to go and talk to the recruiter. And he would come up to me like, hey man, how you doing? He always break the ice first.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a professional conversation. And then he asked me like, hey bro, go talk to them. I don't know. I would ask him, well, what can I ask them? Ask them this question, this, that. That's what they're here for. They're here for you to ask questions. That's what I would give advice also to students. When you're in an event, no matter if it's PASS, SHRM, Alpha, supply chain, ask those questions. No question is a dumb question. they're there to answer you, and they want to help you. That's where they come here, that's why they come here, or that's why they have office visits to help you and learn and absorb knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, it's ultimately we're all here to learn and grow together, and that's why people show up to be part of these communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you have these communities and you're plugged in, you understand the industry at this point, whether it's supply chain or accounting. I want to ask y'all, as professionals in these spaces, what are some of the trends you see in your respective industries?
It's kind of like the trends that we see in the supply chain industry.
Yeah.
Is ultimately that things are getting a lot busier. Things are a lot more competitive between different types of firms, also freight forwarding firms. But the great part about it is that the industry is growing. So there's a lot of new jobs available. It's $1 trillion industry. People who are likely in it are likely to get paid more in the future. So pretty much the trend that I'm seeing is that there's a lot more business and a lot more emphasis on the supply chain and how we can better it. And to me, that's a great thing. Studying my MBA in supply chain, maybe if I tried to do it a couple of years ago, it wouldn't be as beneficial as me doing it now. So right now I'm getting it at the best spot possible, and I'm really happy about that.
It's a question of timing.
Yeah, of course.
What about you, Esteban?
For accounting, I would say right now the most popular one is obviously public accounting.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. But here in Houston, oil and gas is extremely prevalent. You have, like, if you want to study oil and gas, go for it. Houston, that's where the money is, basically. There's all that public accounting, construction also is a big thing because Houston's full of construction. Everywhere you go, traffic, construction. But construction is just like the hard labor working. They also need people high up managing their finances and stuff. So I would say getting involved with that is also important. And accounting is like a job that's never gonna die, especially now that AI is like so big. I would say it's hard for the computer to like manage something as broad as accounting. Knowing how to do from the bookkeeping side to tax to audit, it's awesome. Maybe one day AI may catch up, but I don't see it catching up anytime soon.
Yeah.
No, at least it's comforting knowing there's some job security, and at the same time, there's elements of AI that are freeing up the workflow to focus on other stuff. Like, for example, auditing. At the end of the day, you have to have a second set of eyes review the numbers. So I think that's really important. And that ultimately leads me to my next question. Diego, you're an alumni.
Yeah.
And you helped start this organization from the ground up. It must not have been easy. I want to ask you, as an alumni, what impact did it have to restart the organization, Student Supply Chain Management Association, and what impact did it have on your career as a professional?
So kind of the thing that intrigued me the most was kind of the entrepreneurship kind of role that I felt like I was taking on, kind of like creating my own business, running my own desk, being able to start something from scratch, and nobody was able to tell me no because I was the one running everything. So when I first got into the position, it was actually because of a networking opportunity that I met one of the leaders at the Port of Houston, the CCO, John Mosley. I met him with an advisor here. We got connected. They said, "Hey, Diego, we have this opportunity. Would you like to go for it?" And even though I was a full-time student and full-time worker, I was like, I know it's going to be a lot more on my plate, but I'm ready to go for it. I want to try it out. And one of the benefits that I really got about it was kind of taking a sense of ownership and being able to do something bigger than myself, which was offering the opportunity to other students who didn't get to be included in a supply chain club because it didn't exist. So being able to start it up, being able to build it from the ground up, it took a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of times where maybe I couldn't do my assignment for class because I was focused on the other thing, or maybe my time away from work, I was too busy thinking about one thing or the other. But ultimately, I was benefited through the process, and also with the result came, a new president, and they're thriving, and things are looking really well now. So.
It's amazing, and
Yeah.
I remember I would have times where I would see you pull up straight from work to the student organization event, and you would be there just setting up, and you'd be there talking to the students, pounding the pavement. And now you get to see the fruits of your labor,
of course.
and you see that there's a continuity, and ultimately that's what defines success for any organization. Something that's going to be able to stand the test of time and be able to stand on its own two legs.
Of course, 100%.
So, you built up a community from scratch. Let's talk about communities. I wanted to ask because a lot of our students are first-time in college students, or they may be non-traditional.
Right.
What important role does it mean to have these communities that are geared toward these respective majors and to encourage growth for them? What does community mean?
So community for me means kind of, as somebody who was a president or has, influence about on LinkedIn or anything like that, for me, community is about kind of being the main person on stage and showing everybody what is the right path to take. Someone like me, I grew up, I came here into this country when I was 2 years old. I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be part of a program called DACA, which is a Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals policy. And it allowed me to get my socials, start working. And, my whole thing here is to try to make the best for my family. And although I was along that path, it felt like maybe I should do something that's bigger than me, help people who are just like me. But why just like me? Maybe I should just try to help everyone in general. So for me, community is everything. It's the leading force to why I wake up in the morning or why I want to continue building an organization or anything like that, because I know that there's somebody out there that's waiting for an opportunity for me or an opportunity for me to rise up so I could give them something in the future, hopefully, or a job opportunity or recommend them to somebody. And, only that could happen if I stepped up and, stuff like that.
No, essentially you're passing the torch and you're giving someone else their start. You're paying
Right.
it forward. And, on the flip side, what about you, Esteban?
Well, community for me would be having your voice heard, having people know that you're a leader, but be humble at the same time. Don't let it go to your head. Like whenever like Diego said, people start noticing who you are, even through LinkedIn. They reach out I feel I'm doing something good for PASS. Whenever on Monday, a partner from Whitney Penn had reached out to me, telling me, "Hey, can you give this information to your members, have them apply?" And I feel like I'm reaching that community as well. Like not just like my students, but also big corporations as well. Having your voice heard. And like Diego said, I'm coming from like a low income family. My parents, I wouldn't say they didn't come from nothing, but they come from a really poor place in Mexico, and seeing their, like you said, the fruits, like I'm their fruit, like I'm building something higher, and
Right.
And every time I see my dad, and I just think to myself like I'm doing this for them, I see my parents' hard work, and I feel like I need to put in my hard work, maybe not labor wise like my dad, but like school wise, being a leader, being heard.
I feel like that story resonates with a lot of us because many of us are first generation, and like for example, we carry the weight of our family's legacy to do better and to help provide opportunities for the next generation. And it all comes with unleashing our potential. So let's talk about unleashing your potential. You have this big group of members. How do you help develop their talent, and how do you help them find their potential? What kind of workshops do you guys do with them?
You'd like to go first? Why not?
Well, for PASS, it depends on what we do with each firm. Each firm is different, and like for GT, it was right before the career fair, so we asked them, like, can GT Grant Thornton, for those who know who GT is, can you do a resume workshop, because the career fair is next week, and I would love to have students come and absorb knowledge of how to improve your resume, how to do an elevator pitch, how to speak to a professional in general. That way they can get their nervousness out right then and there with them. That way when they're in the real test of the career fair, they're confident and know what they're doing. And we just had Forbes, and for them it was a meet the firm, because they're known, but not that was not well known, but because I would ask people, who Forbes is in the table, and they were like, no, I don't know who Forbes is. I decided to put a meet the firm there so people can know who they are. But also just workshops in general. It doesn't have to be career fair. It can be resume workshops. Right now, Alpha today, they had a LinkedIn workshop. They can bring professionals, and they talk about how to make your LinkedIn better, because sometimes people don't know how to put their picture, how to make it look pretty,
Yeah.
like their bio. So we like to mix it up and be creative.
No, and I like that because I feel like there's a sense of teamwork and shared leadership between all the student orgs here. And there's not really that competition. Y'all help each other wherever you can, and y'all show up because I remember I was there yesterday for that Forbes event. The members from Alpha and from FMA showed up just to sort of support and fill the room. So I think that's really awesome in terms of building those communities and doing the talent development. But, I think we're coming up on the last little bit of our interview. I want to just take it back to the beginning. You
Yeah.
know, I want to take you to day one. You know, you just started and you just walked into the Maryland Davies College of Business. What advice would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now, and what advice you want to share to the next generation?
When I first started at the University of Houston downtown, it felt like there's a long road ahead of me, and I felt like, I graduated in a couple years, and it's going to take a long time, and, something I would definitely tell myself at that point in time is to just let time do its thing, put in the work, put in the effort. If you've worked hard and you got a certain result, it only means that you're able to do more and continue climbing up that ladder and building a lot of success for yourself. Because whenever I look back at who I was and who I am now, it's a totally, completely person. And I say I changed for the better, for myself, for my family, for my friends. Also, being able to offer an opportunity to be a leader at an organization and kind of be a voice for a group of people, that makes me feel really proud because it's something that I've always wanted to do. And ultimately, the type of advice that I would give to students is if you think you can do more, do more. So if you think you're not being challenged enough, go ahead and take on another challenge. Anytime I feel like I've kind of caught myself at a dead end, or feel like, this is too easy, or maybe I've kind of gotten in the groove of things and maybe working 80 hours a week, maybe it's all right, maybe I can switch my plan, or anything like that. I think it's ultimately the best thing to do is to continue challenging yourself, continuing having grit, and knowing that tough days don't last. So,
yeah. No, I really like that part about grit. I think that being able to just push through, because there are days where it's not going to be so much fun, but ultimately it's that determination that determines how you move ahead. What about you, Esteban?
Well, I want to start with what we just said right now. There's days where, like right now, you get home, you're full of so many things to do, and you have to push through.
Yeah.
Like my dad and my mom, when I get home, they notice. Sometimes I'm come home from a bad mood, or cause not school, it's just in general. You're so full of so many things in your head, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, one advice I can give students would be seek an advisor. I know many people have they consider their parents as advisors and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I would say seek an advisor, like, educational wise. Like, for me, like I said, Pedro, I feel like he's helped me, like, tremendously. He's helped me gain an internship with the firm he's working at, which I'm eternally grateful for. If I didn't meet him, like, I don't know where would I would be. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be in the president position at all. Same thing with Axel. He also offered me the position. I feel like they have good friends in general that push you, because without those good friends, like, you wouldn't. There's no oomph to you, like, because like sometimes you feel like you want to reach something, but you need more power to push you.
Yeah.
So that's like an advice I can give. Seek someone that can give you, like, motivation. Because there's days where you're just, like, how would you say, like, you feel like you're deteriorating, like you're about to give up. But
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. In a sense, you want to find a mentor, someone that'll be able to push you and help you stick it out in those tough moments.
Yeah.
And I think that just having that guidance plays a big role, because sometimes I think back to the Trevor Noah book, Born a Crime. He said, a child only knows as far as they can see in the total horizon, because his mom and him were lucky enough to have a car in that post-era of apartheid South Africa, so they were able to freely explore. So you won't know what's possible unless you have someone that tells you, hey, there's a world beyond what is in your neighborhood. There's a world that's international, whether it's the Panama Canal and
Suez Canal
and the Suez Canal, or whether it's the 51st floor of the offices of PwC, or at PricewaterhouseCoopers rival Deloitte, for example. So all those things are possible. But I want to thank you so much for coming on to the program, Diego.
Thank you so much,
Esteban.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, we've had Esteban Ramirez and Diego Vazquez. Esteban is the current president of the Professional Accounting Society here at the University of Houston downtown, Maryland Davies College of Business. And Diego is the ex-president, founder, and also an alumni of our institution. You're working on your MBA right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And what?
in supply chain management with a concentration in project management.
Oof.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I've been your host, Miguel Gomez. We want to ask you to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at UHD. And remember to always take a bite out of business, and we'll see you later, Gators.